Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black
black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Hey, folks, today is Tuesday, June 5th, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. I'm here in Atlanta, where Steve Harvey is handing out awards for his annual golf classic. And so we'll try to grab him a little bit later in the show. Also, folks, on today's show in Georgia, an appeals court has halted the trial against Donald Trump and all the other people who were involved in interfering with the 2020 election, pending the decision on whether DA Fani Willis should be disqualified from the case. Also on today's show, Trump-loving Florida Congressman Byron Donalds literally says life was better for black people during Jim Crow. Yeah, he said that. Plus, a white man in Wisconsin, as his daughter is walking across the stage, comes up and shoves the black superintendent out of the way so he would not shake his daughter's hand. Wait until we show you this shameful, despicable video. Also, on today's show, the family of David Hilliard, a former leader of the Black Panthers, they are disputing a story that says Hilliard is endorsing Donald Trump. His grandson will join us. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Hey, folks, Roland Martin here. I am in Atlanta at Bears Best Golf Course, where Steve Harvey is having his annual Celebrity Golf Classic. Behind me is where they're handing out the awards. And so hopefully we'll be able to grab Steve and some of the other folks who are here. But let's start with what's happening in Georgia, where an appeals court has halted the case against Donald Trump and the other individuals indicted for interfering with the 2020 election, pending a decision on whether or not Fulton County DA Fani Willis should be disqualified from prosecuting this case. The Georgia Court of Appeals made this order that stopped the proceedings, that stops Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee from proceeding with other matters in the case. The order will undoubtedly delay the case further, which means it's not going to happen before the election. The appeals court is tentatively scheduled to hear the arguments on October 4th. The court will then have until mid-March to rule, and the losing side can then appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court. My panel, Robert Patillo, hosts People's Passion Politics, News and Talk 1380, WAOK out of Atlanta. He actually lost in the primary to Judge McAfee, so that needs to be stated. Rebecca Carruthers is Vice President of Fair Election Center out of D.C. Scott Bolden, he is a former chair of the National Bar Association and D.C. Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committees out of D.C. as well. Scott, I got to start with you. I had some people who were upset with me. They were like, Roland, I thought you were unfair. You were too tough on Fani Willis. Her decision to allow Nathan Wade, an individual she was involved with, to be on this case is why we are here. If he's not on the case, there is no delay. They can't try to get, now they could have tried other ways to get her disqualified, but this is all, I keep saying, this is all on, this was bad decision making, and now this case may not be heard even in 2025, and if Trump wins, you forget about it for 4 years.
Well, it certainly doesn't look good because the Court of Appeals would not have stayed this proceeding if they weren't seriously contemplating removing her from the case. If she gets removed from the case, then they will go to a panel of prosecutors who may or may not take the case up. And, you know, you got to own your responsibility for this case. I've raised a lot of money for Fani Willis. I'm a big supporter of hers. But she's got to own the lapse in judgment here and own that but for. You know, that but for test is stubborn, Roland. But for the decision to be engaged in this relationship and to put him on this case, but for that, we would not be here. And this case might have gotten tried before the general election. And so as a result, we'll have to see. Doesn't mean they're going to remove her from the case, but they're a pretty conservative judiciary down in at the state level and the federal level in Georgia. And so it's not looking good, but, you know, hope springs eternal. Let's see what happens. But it's not going to get tried before this case. And this was a really powerful case. Wouldn't have been decided by the general election, but they may have been able to take testimony. So we'll see.
And again, you're sitting here, Rebecca, and what's crazy is the decision making.
Yeah.
And what I kept saying is, You got to tell your whole team, everybody's clean. I don't care what anybody's doing. And so now you're in a situation to where they're seriously looking at it. So if she's disqualified, they could determine her entire office is disqualified, which now means that, oh, you're now leaving it up to the state attorney general, Republican, and they may decide not to proceed. That's how significant this screw up is.
Yeah.
You know, so this is something that we talked about a few months ago. I understand the need to protect and support Fani, understanding all of those who are attacking her, including the credible threats that she's had to endure for the last couple of years. However, Georgia is not New York. New York is much friendlier when it comes to prosecuting Donald Trump. Not friendlier necessarily from the aspect of law, but also friendlier from the environment of understanding there are more people who are saying, hey, Trump is not above the law in New York versus in Georgia. So yes, this was an unforced error, like we talked about on the show a few months ago. However, you know, just like you pointed out, if it wasn't this, they would have found another reason to try to disqualify Fani Willis and ultimately to get this moved out of Fulton County and perhaps into another county that might be friendlier towards Donald Trump. But here's the bottom line, and something that voters need to pay attention to. Now, Trump told us, hey, if you don't like what they're doing to him, then you need to vote for him to be reelected on November 5th. And I would tell voters, if you want Trump to be held to the law and not to be above the law, you have to make a decision on November 5th. Because what we're seeing is there's aspects of the judiciary that is not as comfortable with applying the law evenly to Donald Trump as other jurisdictions. So ultimately, if you want to see Trump be held to consequences, it's going to start on November 5th.
Robert?
You know, having just come out of this race a week ago, I will just have to say that this is par for the course. This was the plan the entire time, that by punting this effectively to the appeals court, they knew that this would have foreclosed any possibility of this going to trial prior to the election, or frankly, ever. There's a very decent chance, above 50% chance, I would say, that this never goes to trial at this point in time, whether Trump is elected or isn't elected in November. I mean, I can dive into that a little bit later. But on the point about Fani Willis and the lapse of judgment, quote unquote, the prosecutors have carte blanche when it comes to who they appoint as being special prosecutors. I scoured the records. I cannot find a single case in the history of Georgia of a prosecutor being disqualified based upon the appointment of a special prosecutor. As was said, that if it wasn't this, they would have found something else to try to disqualify her from this case or to try to delay this case. Remember that President Trump had strong tentacles throughout the state of Georgia. People have to start separating Atlanta from Georgia and understand that it is a blue pearl in the middle of a Red Sea, and that by kicking this to the appeals court and then giving the ability to be appealed to the state Supreme Court and then potentially a federal question to appeal at the federal court, they are effectively saying, don't plan on seeing this going to trial anytime soon, if ever.
Again, I understand they would have tried to get her disqualified some other way. But what you don't do is you don't gift wrap them this on a gold platter and say, here you go, knock yourself out. Yeah. That, to me, is what is just nonsensical. And again, I got folks who've been mad at me, man. I just think you've been too hard on Sister Fani, and I have defended her. I love the fact that she indicted, going after him and stood firm. But I'm sorry, somebody has to say it. She screwed up. And Nathan Wade, he also should have said, Fani, I appreciate it, but it wouldn't look good if I'm on the case, because if they find out, it's going to be a problem. And now the problem is the people of Georgia, again, depending upon the decision of the appeals court. Then, if they rule against her and say she and her office can't prosecute, then it may get kicked somewhere else, and these individuals may never, ever be held accountable for what they did, which means we will never be able to have the kind of justice on the record for them trying to steal the 2020 election in Georgia. And that, to me, is the bigger issue. Scott, real quick.
Yeah, real quick. You know, we'll never know what else they would have done. We'll never get there because Fani Willis gave them this right here. So they may have found some other reason, but we'll never know whether they found the reason because they don't have to. We gave them a reason. And like I said, I'm a big supporter of hers, but we are where we are because of that lapse in judgment for both of them. Got to be clean if you're going to go after the president because they dirty players. You know that going in.
Look, Scott, they tried to disqualify me for the race because of my email address. They were going to continue to look under every nook and cranny. They literally launched a state judicial inquiry into my campaign because my email address was Judge Patillo, and I changed it to Patillo for Judge. They were going to find something to try to blow it up. If it wasn't this, it would have been the color of her shoes, the color of her teeth, or the color of her car. They would have found something. So that's why I'm saying that for Fani, there's no case law indicating that this will be grounds for removal. There's no case in Georgia history that indicates that this would have resulted in this going to the appeals court. By all precedents, she did not violate any standard or norm or law.
Well, again, one
thing. Yeah, but the appearance of impropriety.
Here's the deal. One thing we do know, there may not be a example, there may not be case law. That doesn't mean new case law can't be created. Hold tight 1 second, folks. When we come back, a story dropped the other day that shocked a bunch of people and said that that longtime Black Panther, David Hilliard, endorsed Donald Trump. Joining us next is his grandson, who is disavowing that because of the health condition of his grandfather. We will explain next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network, live from Atlanta, where I'm attending the Steve Harvey Celebrity Golf Classic. Back in a moment.
First, President Barack Obama's road to the White House. We got about 500 copies of the book available. And so this actually is all of the coverage of the 2008 election. But the other thing is this here. I talked to folks like Malik Yoba, Hill Harper, Erica Alexander, Kevin Lau, Spike Lee, Tatiana Ali. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff in here as well, where I talked about some of the stuff that went down at CNN. Also, when you go through here, a lot of the photos that you see in here, photos that I actually shot, photos that were my time at CNN. And so what I decided to do, because one, I published the book and I own it myself, is that so I said, you know what, I'm going to slash the price to $10. I'm not reprinting the book. So once we are sold out of these 500, that's it. They're gone. So you can go to RolandSMartin.com/the-first to get a copy of this book. Everybody who orders this book through the website, not on Amazon, only through RolandSMartin.com. I will personally autograph and mail you a copy of this book. It's all of the covers, the actual interviews that I did with him. And just to show you, of course, when it came out, there's actually even in here the interviews that I did with him and Michelle Obama, which won TV One cable networks its first 2 NAACP Image Awards. And so all of that for $10, go to RolandSMartin.com the first and order your copy today.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, a lot of people were surprised when a story came out stating that David Hilliard, a longtime black member of the Black Panther Party, was endorsing Donald Trump for president. The video has been circulating on social media. It was posted by Carol D. Mitchell, and it shows Hilliard calling Trump a decent man and a friend to African Americans. Okay, this is the video.
Welcome to the random site. I want you to meet someone who knew Donald Trump, and he's going to tell you about Donald Trump in his own words.
My name is David Hilliard, founding member of the Black Panther Party. I knew Trump when Trump was a college student in New York, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's how I know Trump.
What kind of person do you think Donald Trump is?
Trump is a person who's a decent man, and he supported the Black Panther Party. That's what I just mentioned to you. He was someone who gave us money, and Trump was a decent guy.
Mm-hmm.
Trump
Yes.
Trump's a friend of African Americans, and I knew Trump from the 1960s in New York, where he comes from, and he's a friend to African Americans.
Oh, and now when you say a friend to African American, what do you mean by friend?
I mean he's not a racist. He's not a racist, fascist white man. He supported black people. Owned every brownstone in a place called Harlem, New York.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, do you remember the time that Trump supported Jesse Jackson?
No, but I remember when he supported the Black Panther Party.
Wow. That's incredible. And how did he support the Black Panther Party?
With his money.
Whoa, for real? My goodness.
He gave us money.
So, in your opinion, Trump has always been, now that he has these 34 counts of being a felon, Trump has always been part of the black community, or familiarized at least with the black community.
That's exactly right. Trump was a friend to people of African American descent, and he owned all of Harlem.
Wow, that's amazing. So in your opinion, sir, your valued opinion, why do you think they put all these charges on Trump, and they're afraid of him to be president?
Because Trump likes Africans in America. He likes black folks. That's one. I think that Trump is qualified in a very decent approach to having somebody representing America. Trump,
I agree with you, and I think Trump would be able to get us off this government thing and get us to making our own money, because he knows how to make money. He knows how to lose money, and so he would be the perfect person to help us get our own again, right?
And Trump's a friend of African Americans. He's always been a friend of black people. That's how I know Trump.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. And what is your name, sir?
My name is David Hilliard, founding member of the Black Panther Party.
Oh, my God. Well, that's amazing. You're a well-known figure in the Bay Area. So we thank you for taking a moment out of your valued time to give us an interview for the Random Site. Thank you, sir.
All power to the people.
Okay, so you've heard it straight from David Hilliard's mouth, the founding member of the Black Panther Party supporting Donald Trump. Thank you very much. This has been your host, Carol D. Mitchell, on the Random Site.
Well, the grandson of David Hilliard, Eric Jones, took to social media disputing what took place. And they were posting videos. They reached out to us here at Roland Martin Unfiltered. Eric Jones joins us right now from Oakland. Eric, first and foremost, who is Carol Mitchell? Who is she?
Hello, Roland. First off, I would like to say just thank you for the opportunity to be able to write this story. It's going down a very wrong path, very fast. And so it's much appreciated for this opportunity to do so. This Carol Mitchell lady, this was the first time I had ever even heard of her name, just seeing the video. Apparently she lives there at the senior community my grandfather resides at, and she had watched him for quite a while and known of his status and decided to apparently go after him for that interview.
And so, according to you and other family members, your grandfather is suffering from dementia?
Yes. So, unfortunately, my grandfather is in the thralls of dementia, and he has been for quite some time.
So the reason, so many of us, again, when we first saw this, thought it was suspect, because at no time ever has Donald Trump or anybody else suggested that he was providing financing to the Black Panthers when he was in college. Second of all, again, if you look at logic here, Donald Trump was at Wharton. His daddy, brought him into the school. He didn't have the grades. And there's nowhere in hell that Donald Trump would be crossing paths with the Black Panthers, especially in Oakland.
Yeah, so those things don't line up. And currently, I've been speaking with the Huey P. Newton Foundation and Frederica Newton, and we are trying to find some of any Panthers that were still around from the New York chapters and to see if we can verify any of those stories, but so far, no.
And so, at no point in any conversations that you had with your grandfather, did Donald Trump ever come up?
Well, since Donald Trump's name had become something that's of popularity and constant news and daily things, he's gone on to say these type of stories that, oh yeah, Donald Trump gave us these brownstones back in New York in the 60s, but again, those are unsubstantiated, definitely.
Yeah, well, first of all, let's be real clear. If anybody even understands the Trump family, Donald Trump's dad built the business. Donald Trump's dad, his business wasn't in Harlem.
Yeah.
It was in one of the other boroughs. And so it was in Brooklyn. So they never did business in Harlem. I mean, so this thing just comes out of the blue in terms of this whole deal here. This craziness.
Yeah, it is complete madness. And he has no idea of any of Trump's current policies or whereabouts or do-abouts or anything like that. So this is all just unsubstantiated.
So on this, have you had an opportunity to talk to your grandfather? Does he still recognize you and other family members?
Oh yeah, my grandfather, he speaks very clearly about certain things in the past, and he remembers everyone in his family, and he can speak towards a lot of things that are truthful if you can lead him sort of in that direction. But when he starts to speak, so you gotta understand, my grandfather has over 5 books published. He's been a professor. He has a lot of things that are archived, and so if he speaks on those things that he has archived, then those are typically factual things that you can go check on, and it can all line up. But if he starts, speaking of things that aren't necessarily a part of that past work that he's done, that's sometimes where he can make up some things.
Also, because of his status, at any point, did this woman, Miss Mitchell, did she ever alert family members, talk to them, or did she simply put this video out on her own, knowing full well the dementia status of your grandfather?
Yeah, absolutely not. So, again, I've never heard of that woman until just 2 days ago. And so before then, we don't know if she knows of his status. We don't know if she's been following him or what so. But of course, if she had that conversation with him, she could tell that she had to feed him lines, and she had to speak with him about things that he didn't. She had to connect dots for him. And he is a very profound speaker who never needs any dots connected for him in his higher mind. So if he's not, I'm pretty sure she could figure that out.
All right, Eric Jones, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show to break this down for us, and certainly thanks for reaching out to us.
Thank you, Roland. Thank you. Appreciate the time. All right, I appreciate your work. Thank you. Take care.
All right, folks, gotta go to break. We come back. Congressman Byron Donalds says things were better for black people during Jim Crow than they are today. Congressman Hakeem Jeffries was having none of that, and we'll show you their back and forth. Also, Jesse Waters, Fox News, makes one of the most racist comments you'll ever hear. We'll play it for you as well. Folks, you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. Supporters and work that we do. Be sure to join our Bring the Buck fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. So you're checking money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, and download the Black Stud Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. We'll be right back.
COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties have waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready.
up, everybody? It's your girl, Latasha, from the A.
And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, welcome back to Roland Martin Unfiltered here at the Steve Harvey Celebrity Golf Classic in Atlanta. All right, so Donald Trump supporters, they had an event in Philadelphia that was supposedly focused on Black for Trump. Now, it was in a conservative area, largely white area. And it was led by Byron Donalds of Florida and Wesley Hunt of Texas. It was called Congress, Cognac, and Cigars. Yeah. Okay. Now, check this out. Now, Michelle Tafoya, formerly, of course, sideline reporter for Monday Night Football, she was the one moderating this conversation and about Black's Republican Party. Don't ask me why. Now, there was no videotape of this, but the Philadelphia Inquirer reported that Donald made some comments about Black life during Jim Crow. This was the quote from the Philadelphia Inquirer, quoting Byron Donalds. You see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together. During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative. Black people have always been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, you go down that road, and now we are where we are. Well, that did not sit quite well with New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. He took to the floor of Congress to blast Donalds.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that Black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when Black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Well, Donalds heard what Jeffries had to say, and this was his response.
America, Joe Biden's campaign is lying to you once again, and they're gaslighting. Now they're trying to say that I said Black people were doing better under Jim Crow. I never said that. They are lying. But why would you be surprised? Because they always lie. This is the same Joe Biden that said, if you don't vote for him, then you ain't Black. The man is a liar. Sorry, just call it what it is. What I said is that you had more Black families under Jim Crow, and it was the Democrat policies under HEW, under the welfare state, that did help to destroy the Black family. That's what I said. And I also said you're seeing a reinvigoration of Black families today in America, and that is a good thing. So don't listen to the lies from the Biden administration. I know what I said, and I'll say it straight to camera. They got to run to the Philadelphia Inquirer to move their lies. Joe Biden does not care about Black people. He never has. He cares about power, first, second, and third. They can go somewhere with all that. See ya.
Really? First of all, Congressman Donalds, if you have an issue, you take issue with the reporting of the Philadelphia Inquirer. And if you say that's not what you said, okay, produce us an audio recording. Produce us a video recording of exactly what you said during that, if you're disputing what the reporting is. See, I need everybody to understand this is the game. So instead of Donalds criticizing the Philadelphia Inquirer, because y'all notice what he did not do. If he claims I didn't say that, you notice he did not demand a correction from the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's criticizing the Biden campaign, who is simply remarking on what was reported in the Philadelphia Inquirer. But anytime if y'all want to see the folks who play games, all you have to tell is he never demanded a correction from the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's when you know he actually said what he said, Robert, and that is grossly indefensible.
You know, this is part of the mythology that many of the Black conservative movement have taken up to believing this idea that Black folks were somehow better off prior to the civil rights movement, prior to integration, prior to any of the legal framework that we call the civil rights and the voting rights movement. There's this idea on the conservative side of the aisle that, well, if we could just go back to the good old days, before we had voting rights, before we had integration, we had stronger families. We had Stockholm syndrome. We had strong families because we didn't have no choice. We had no upward mobility. The reason that the marriage rates were so high because Black women couldn't have bank accounts, could not attend institutions of higher education, could not have a mortgage, could not buy a car on their own. The reason we lived together because you had redlining and you had blockbusting you were closing together Black communities to the point that they could not leave. That's the kind of fantasy world that many Black conservatives have decided to inhabit, where we were all just after slavery, sitting around whistling happy as who knows what. I wish they would just take that and rewind it all the way back to the radical Republican Congress from 1865 to 1876. If you're going to say things were so much better prior to the civil rights movement, then just say, I'm going to take up the Republican platform that existed under the radical Republicans, and we're going to push for reparations for Black folks in this country, because that was a Republican initiative. If you're going to say Black folks voted more conservatively prior to the 1940s and the 1950s, we'll take it all the way back. Take it all the way back and say we're going to enforce Sherman's Field Order number 15. We're going to enforce what Senator Stevens said on the floor of the House of Representatives, that we are going to take that promise of 40 acres and a mule, and we're going to distribute that to everyone in this country, everyone who is of African-American descent, of the descent of those who were enslaved in this nation. But to simply say, well, things were great prior to Black people having rights is exactly the type of African American that Donald Trump likes to point to and say, that's my African American. And as these people are jockeying for position to be the next vice president of the United States, as Congressman Donald and Tim Scott and others are, they have to remember that the statements they put and that they use on record right now are going to be used against other Black people in the future. We just saw the Fearless Fund. They're using the Civil Rights Act to deny them the ability to help Black businesses. These words and these actions have consequences, and maybe Byron Donalds will be the next Vice President of the United States of America, but he can't forget what he is doing to our communities on his way there.
See, this is the thing for me, Rebecca, that's always shameful and despicable when Byron Donalds, when that idiot Candace Owens, or any of these people say these things. They leave out the fact about the police dogs and the lynchings and the beatings. They leave out the fact that we were denied bank loans, denied housing loans. They leave out the fact that Black folks had to walk down the street, couldn't look white folks in the eye. They did not. So all those things. So if you want to talk about this small piece of what life was like for us during Jim Crow, I mean, you could literally make the argument that the Black nuclear family there was a strong bond during slavery, because we were working together every single day, side by side, with mother and father and children, and we were together, and we lived in one room, and we ate together, and we prayed together. I mean, if we want to go there, I mean, that's literally what we could say. But then you leave out all the other stuff that was going on. Sorry, Congressman Donalds is full of shit.
So first of all, Byron, I need to know who your people are. Now, you were born and raised in Brooklyn. So I'm assuming that if your people came by way of the northern migration and the migration routes of how many Black folks ended up in New York, my guess is they probably came from South Carolina, North Carolina, maybe the Low Islands, going a little bit further south into Georgia, perhaps, maybe. I need to know who your grandma, your auntie, your uncles are, because I can guarantee you they would not agree with what you said. Second of all, what you just said on camera means that you are dumb, you're an idiot, or maybe I'll be charitable and say you are diseased in the mind. And this is why. Byron, you literally just said that Black families can attribute strong Black families to Jim Crow. That simply does not make sense. You are trying to correlate two separate things and try to have causation. And I'll explain what I mean by that. In the summer, ice cream sales go up. In the summer, crime goes up. Just because ice cream sales and crime both goes up in the summer doesn't mean that eating of ice cream leads to someone committing crime. That's not how it works. So just because you are making the argument that Black families, from your perspective, were stronger in the 50s and 60s doesn't mean that we can or should attribute it to Jim Crow. Simply, your mind is diseased to even jump and say that oppression is what made Black families stronger. That is not the case. I understand that you claim that you grew up in a Black broken home. You went to FAMU, then you transferred to Florida State, you married into a white conservative family, and now all of a sudden white ICE is better. But let's be clear, just because you said those things, which the Philadelphia Inquirer rightly attributed to you, you then go on camera saying, oh, I'm going to say it to their face, I'm going to say it to the camera. What you actually said on camera sounds even more stupid and idiotic than what the Philadelphia Inquirer said that you said. So if anything, you should thank them that they didn't expose your idiocy around this issue, and quite frankly, you are lost.
All right, so here's the deal. Before I go to Scott, so Byron Donalds says he's blasting the Biden campaign, saying they didn't do it. Well, guess what? It was reported. There is video. And the Biden folks just posted it. Control room, if y'all have it, let's play it. If you don't have it yet, okay. If you don't have it yet, Scott, go with your. So Scott, go with your comment, and then we're gonna play the video. You actually hear Byron Donalds in his own words in a 26-second clip from that conversation.
I'll only add to my colleagues. I guess we was better together doing Jim Crow because we had stronger family. But we couldn't, you go to jail and you couldn't walk down the street, you couldn't vote, you couldn't get a job, couldn't get educated. But we were together as a family. You know, every time these dumbass Republicans, one, they don't do their research, and they just ignorant. It just, sometimes, and I know what you say, Roland, you say, you got to call this out, Scott. But sometimes this stuff is so ignorant that it's just not even worth talking about. My colleague said it best, and by the way, if we weren't stronger as a family, our socioeconomic problems weren't there, but we weren't stronger as a family. We weren't stronger because of the socioeconomic and health disparities that still exist in America today. They were worse doing Jim Crow. So stop it. Just dumbass comments. That's all I got to say.
All right. So here's the actual video of Byron Donalds.
You see, during Jim Crow, the Black family was together.
That's right.
During Jim Crow, more Black people were not just conservative, because Black people always have been conservative-minded, but more Black people voted conservatively. And then H.E.W., Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in
He said, doesn't sound like he was misquoted.
Sounds to me like he was quoted correctly. So Byron Donalds, you're lying.
When you get your Black history education from Ron DeSantis. This is why they want to get rid of CRT. This is why they want to get rid of DEI. They want to keep us all that damn dumb. They want us all walk around here scratching when we ain't itching, laughing when we ain't tickled. That's the exact archetype for a Black man that they want in this country. One that's completely disconnected from his history, disconnected from Elaine, Arkansas, disconnected from Tulsa, Oklahoma, disconnected from the bloody summer of 1919. Someone who's completely disconnected from all aspects of American history besides what has been regurgitated and spewed back to him as patriotism. He wants us all to take that Ron DeSantis history course where, we were all just on the plantation having a good time. And then these northern aggressors came in to destroy the southern way of life. And we fought the good fight, but maybe we'll rise again. But then as soon as we ended that horrible Reconstruction, And our brothers and sisters in the Ku Klux Klan decided to come together to liberate us and to arm us and protect us from other groups. That is when the black family was the strongest. That's the version of history that Byron Donalds has been indoctrinated into and that he would like the rest of us to believe in. And if you believe that version of history, then no, we don't need voting rights. No, we don't need a Civil Rights Act. We don't need diversity, equity, and inclusion. We don't need affirmative action. Everything was great back when we had the proper American social structure of white supremacy on top, and then a couple of us get to prosper at the foot of white supremacy from the crumbs from the table, but the rest of us will be in subjugation. That is the Donald version of Black American history.
Y'all, again, I just love the people who say, I didn't say it. What'd you say, Scott?
What's worse about that video, real quick, Roland, is that there were other black conservatives listening to him saying, right.
Well, actually, not really, because we don't really know who was in the room. First of all, here's what we do know. According to Philadelphia Inquirer,
I thought it was a conservative event.
No. According to Philadelphia Inquirer, half of the people who were in the room weren't even from Philadelphia. They came in for it. It's no different than when Donalds hosted an event in South Carolina, and it was supposedly a Black Republican event, South Carolina, and there were like 5 in the room. So again, you hear this one thing, but it's another. All right, when we come back, I got to play for you this absolutely racist comment about black juries Jesse Waters said on Fox News. Also, 50 Cent was on Capitol Hill talking to members of Congress about African Americans being shut out of the spirits industry. Plus, this unbelievable video. A black superintendent is on the stage and is about to shake the hand of a white female high school graduate. Her dad storms the stage and physically moves the black superintendent off the stage so he couldn't shake his daughter's hand. There's actual video of this. Stunning. We'll have it for you. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. A lot of y'all have been asking me about the pocket squares that we have available on our website. You see me rocking the Shabori pocket square right here. It's all about looking different. And look, summertime is coming up. Y'all know, I keep trying to tell fellas, change your look, please. You can't wear athletic shoes every damn wear. So if you're putting on linen suits, if you're putting on some summer suits, have a whole different look. The reason I like this particular pocket square, the Shabori, is because it's sort of like a flower and looks pretty cool here versus the traditional boring silk pocket squares. But also I like being a little different as well. So this is why we have these custom-made feather pocket squares on the website as well. My sister actually designed these after a few years ago. I was in this battle with Steve Harvey at Essence, and I saw this at a St. Jude fundraiser. I saw this feather pocket square, and I said, well, I got some ideas. So I hit her, and she sent me about 30 different ones. And so this completely changes your look. Now, some of you men out there, I had some dudes say, oh, man, I can't wear that. Well, if you ain't got swagger, that's not my problem. But if you're looking for something different to spruce up your look, fellas, ladies, if y'all looking to get your man a good gift, I've run into brothers all across the country with the feather pocket squares saying, see, check mine out. And so it's always good to see them. And so this is what you do. Go to RolandMartin.com/pocket squares. You can order Shabori pocket squares or the custom-made pocket squares. Now, for the Shaboris, we're out of a lot of the different colors, and I think we're down to about 200 or 300. So you want to get your order in as soon as you can, because here's what happened. I got these several years ago, and the Japanese company signed a deal with another company, and I bought them before they signed that deal, and so I can't get access to any more from the company in Japan that makes them. And so get yours now. So come summertime, when I see y'all at Essence, y'all could be looking fly with the Shabori pocket square or the custom-made pocket square. Again, RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. Go there now.
Me, Sherry Shepard, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
One thing you can always count on from Fox News is racism. And one of the biggest racists there is Jesse Waters. This is what he said after the first day of the trial of Hunter Biden in the nation's capital.
It's called jury nullification. It's when you pick a jury that will give you a not guilty verdict. They know you're guilty, but they just disagree with the law. The strategy plays on the racial makeup of the jury, which is mostly black, as well as the Biden's influence in Delaware. The hope is this jury won't convict for a drug-related crime. Everybody in Delaware knows the Bidens. That's why Jill and Ashley are sitting front row. But that's not all. The Biden family brought Mouse to court. Mouse is a Delaware legend. Joe Biden was the best man at his wedding. Mouse runs Delaware's NAACP and has been involved in the community for decades. They want every black juror to see Mouse sitting with the Bidens. If you can get the jury on your side, all of a sudden, this case is not a slam dunk.
Now keep in mind, Hunter Biden is facing 3 counts of lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, writing false statements on the form, and unlawfully possessing the gun for several days. So basically, Rebecca, Jesse Waters is saying, oh, black people are too dumb on a jury to listen to evidence, listen to testimony. What he's saying is, oh, if you want a not guilty verdict, just pick nearly an all-black jury and you're going to get that.
Inverse, is he saying that if you want a guilty verdict, regardless of what the evidence is, pick an all-white jury? Is that what he's saying? But then, I mean, there's so many ways you could go with this. But also, he's saying, oh, well, black people, they'll never convict with drugs because, all black people do illicit drugs, right? I mean, look, he's ignorant. It's the reason why he's on Fox News. Bottom line, he's racist. He shows he's racist, so he's going to say racist things. And he's on a network that supports people saying racist things. And that also means that those companies that air during Jesse Waters' time, they support racist things being said that they're putting their ad dollars behind. So, okay, cool. He said something racist.
Jesse Waters saying something racist, we call that, Scott, a day that ends in DAY.
Right. Having picked several juries and Jesse Waters having not picked one, I can tell you, white America is the least qualified to talk about black people and racism or to even define discrimination. I've always said this. And the fact of the matter is that most jurors, 95% of them, and Robert, I'd love to hear your response, black, white, yellow, brown, take that case into the jury room. They try to do the right thing. They work hard. Doesn't matter their race. And black people aren't monolithic simply because the criminal justice system has housed more of us than other people, if you will, in most jurisdictions. But they work hard. They try to do the right thing. They try to follow the law. And you come back with a verdict. If Jesse Waters was right, then the majority of juries in Washington, D.C. are black, and you wouldn't have anybody convicted. And we know we got a 95% conviction rate here in this jurisdiction as well. So it's really just more ignorance than anything. And to think that Mouse, who may be a legend in that community, is sitting with the Biden family, but Jesse Waters doesn't have any problem with the leadership of the GOP in the House and Senate coming and sit in the front row in regard to Donald Trump's trial. And somehow that's right because they're white, but it's wrong in Delaware because the president happens to know everybody. Everybody knows the president in Delaware, and Mouse is a legend in the NAACP. That's cry foul. But here's the last point, Roland. I can give you 5 federal circuit court opinions that have said what Hunter Biden is charged with would never be charged and is unconstitutional. And by the way, 90% of these charges against Hunter Biden have never just been brought independent. They've always been connected to some other crime with gang members or bad actors, if you will. Never before, very few times, does the fact that this form filled out is wrong. This form was altered by the gun shop, if you will. If Hunter Biden is found not guilty or the government hasn't proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt, those would be the reasons, not because Mouse is sitting in the audience or Jill Biden is sitting in the audience. It's because the jury did their job. And if they convict him, then they did their job too. We got to respect the rule of law.
It's also, Robert, it could be because Mouse has been a friend of Biden's for more than 30 years, and his family and his children. But again, this is the level of stupidity. And I'm sure Jesse Waters is making no comment about any of the white supporters of the Biden family showing up in court.
Look, when we talk about only in America, Jesse Waters is absolutely he is the siren tale of the most unqualified white people and white mediocrity being rewarded. Remember, he started off as an intern for Tucker Carlson, and because he was tall and conservative, they started letting him do man on the street interviews. At that point in time, they made him a full-time correspondent. He was actually married when his wife was pregnant, and he left her to start dating one of the booking producers at Fox, family values, conservative values, then got her pregnant. And then when Tucker got fired for the Dominion lawsuit and costing Fox basically $1 billion, somehow Jesse Waters gets elevated to a primetime television slot. Now, I'm not saying that would never happen to a black person. I'm just saying that's never happened to a black person in the history of Earth. And this idea that somehow because you went from an intern to a primetime anchor while cheating on your wife qualifies you to talk about jury selection somehow is where this kind of conservative belief in meritocracy falls apart. Because what do they continuously say? Well, I'm against diversity, equity, and inclusion because it needs to be based on merit. What the hell merit does Jesse Waters have to talk about jury selection in a Delaware case? It's completely ridiculous. And the idea that they're putting out here that they're trying to invalidate the verdict before it happens because they're pretty sure Hunter Biden's going to be acquitted in this case because, as Scott said, these charges are never brought and they may not even be constitutional. This idea that you can deny somebody their Second Amendment right based on them being a drug addict. If you look at the text of the Heller decision that was just decided a decade ago, it makes it pretty clear that this is an individualized right. And I'm not quite sure, and the courts have not decided yet whether or not you can bar that right based on someone being a drug addict at the time. Because if you're going to say that, then why not say alcoholics? Why not say anything under that will undermine the Second Amendment? So they know this will probably be dismissed out of hand or will be an acquittal for Hunter Biden. So they're trying to invalidate that, but also blow these racist dog whistles at the same time. That not only are we going to invalidate the verdict, but we're going to do so because black people are so simple-minded that all they have to do is see another black person and they'll just get up, start juggling watermelons, shucking and jiving, frying chicken in the jury box, and then they'll be over. This is par for the course for the audience they're trying to appeal to.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. When we come back, where do you see this video of a white man physically removing a black superintendent from the stage because he did not want that black superintendent touching his white daughter's hand? Also, 50 Cent comes to Capitol Hill talking about the importance of expanding opportunities for African Americans in the liquor industry. We'll show you that as well. Lots to talk about right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor, having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties had waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready. And we won't be silent
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, 50 Cent was on Capitol Hill today with attorney Ben Crump talking about increasing opportunities for African Americans in the liquor industry. He is suing a particular company, saying they have been defrauding him. He met with Democrats and Republicans. There are a lot of photo ops out there with Speaker Mike Johnson, Lauren Boebert, and others. That sounds great and wonderful, but here's the real issue. Show me how Republicans are willing to do that. Are they going to stand up and fight discriminatory behavior happening in this industry? What about what's happening in black-owned media? Folks at USA Today posted this video on social media, 50 Cent addressing the microphones.
It's definitely not my traditional platform.
I should have studied this like a verse and just bust a rap. It's really exciting for me to be here. I got a chance to meet with both sides today, and it feels really good. Like, they don't agree. They don't agree on a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So to get them to agree on seeing me was an accomplishment in itself. As far as today, I went to talk to them about economic opportunities for everybody, and it's really exciting. The response I got makes me feel like that there's bright things ahead of us.
Well, I'll say this here. It's actually no shock. It's not that big of a deal that both sides would agree to meet 50 Cent. He is, of course, a prominent artist, businessman as well. So, look, politicians don't mind celebrities as well. Here's the thing for me that really jumps out here, and I'll go to you first, Scott, and that is this here. Yes, 50 Cent is suing this country, this particular company, doing business with him. And when Diddy was talking about, when he filed his lawsuit against Diageo, alleging the same thing, and then there are other individuals. This is what I am going to say specifically to black celebrities. Are you doing this because of you, or are you doing it for the collective? See, that's the real issue. If I think about a Harry Belafonte, if I think about an Ossie Davis, if I think about a long line of African Americans, Wendell Pierce, Don Cheadle, and others, there are folks, Jesse Williams, there are people who are working on behalf of the collective, Erica Alexander, I can keep naming folks. And so, I wasn't in D.C. today, I was here in Atlanta, supporting Steve Harvey in his golf tournament, the money he raises for his boys and girls camps. But I did put in a call to Ben Crump. And I'm going to send a text to 50 Cent as well. And my question to them is going to be, okay, I got it. You met on Capitol Hill. So you want to see expanded opportunities for African Americans in this particular space. While I was here, former music executive Kadar Massenberg had his wines here. On the course, that was a sister who had her own liquor brand. I know there are other people who I've met. I've interviewed, we've had people on the show in Marketplace who created their own liquor brand. So here's the question that I would pose to 50 Cent. Are you willing to call for a meeting of all these individuals and then begin to say, how do we move as a collective? So the question is this about expanding opportunities for African Americans in the space, or is it about you expanding opportunities in the space? That would be the question I would pose to him.
What did Ben Crump say?
Haven't heard back yet, but I'm definitely going to follow up with him.
Okay, so it can be both. The reality is that black-owned businesses have lots of challenges and have historically, right? If 50 Cent can lend his name and advocacy to expanding those opportunities, calling for legislation to expand those opportunities, demanding that Biden administration do more, and they've done a lot in this space, and him lending his name to it, as he goes along, he's going to bring a lot of others along. But it's not about the photo op and going to Capitol Hill one day with Ben Crump. The hard work begins after that. And so whether he's going to do this and be prepared to do this for all black-owned businesses, men and women-owned with black folks, then the work after the photo op with Ben Crump and legislation. Are they going to draft legislation? Is he going to show up on the Hill without the photo op? Is he going to build a coalition of successful black business owners who are all entrepreneurs like Steve Harvey and you and others, and build a coalition and really make this demand and make a strong push where that it is not about 50 cents, it's not about his celebrity, it's about the collective, then the answer is it's about the collective. If you're not going to do all of that and more than what I just listed off the top of my head, then it's about the photo op and 50 Cent and maybe he helps some, but not the collective. And that's the reality of being a celebrity. The celebrity behind the movement is not the celebrity, it's the movement behind the celebrity. And you have to create that with hard work and passion. And so I guess the verdict is out. We'll see. Will you be reporting on something else they've done in this regard in 2 or 3 months, in a year, in 2 years? Because it's not going to happen overnight because 50 Cent showed up on the Hill. So that's my response.
No, absolutely. And look, the thing that I make clear, and the reason I say that, Rebecca, because I make the point all the time, when I am advocating for expanded opportunities for Black-owned media, I'm not saying, oh, just for Roland, and I'm not saying that's what 50 Cent is doing. But what I am saying is that sure, you appearing on Capitol Hill by yourself with Ben Crump, that's great. But as Scott said, nothing gets done unless it's a broader movement. And what I want to see is, I want to see this generation of Black celebrities not operate in silos. I want them to say, hey, let me pull people to the table. And now all of a sudden, when you come back to Capitol Hill, you come back with 50 or 100 or 200 African Americans who have created their own liquor brands, and they have brown liquor, they have wine, they have whatever. Now all of a sudden, again, that's how, to me, you effectively utilize celebrity where it's not just about you.
I agree. It's great to have 50 Cent on Capitol Hill, but we also need to see Curtis Jackson in the streets. Because I want him to talk more than just about his particular liquor brand, but also talk about liquor distribution in this country. How can more Black folks be a part of distribution where there's more avenues to create and generate Black wealth? The other thing that I want to see Mr. Curtis Jackson do, considering he has a new production studio in Shreveport, Louisiana, I believe is for both film and television production. I want to see him actually get involved in Louisiana and let them know, hey, I'm potentially bringing billions of dollars in revenue to your state. So all this crazy stuff you're doing down in Baton Rouge in the legislature, that's not going to work if you want me to bring my billions in this state. Otherwise, I could cross the border into Arkansas. I could go across the border over into Texas, and I could do business there. So I want to see 50 Cent, yes, and his star power and celebrity, but I need to see the businessman Curtis Jackson flexing his power to, for the Black community. Because even though you have some celebrities who say, hey, I'm OJ, I'm not Black, at the end of the day, you are still Black. You will be treated that way. And it never is good when you are the only one in the room. And you're right. He needs to bring up 50, 100 other people. Maybe he could do a collaboration with Uncle Nearest, which is now, I think, trending towards like $1 billion projection. So there's other things that he can be doing, but it's best not to go it alone. If you don't understand that through recent history, you can look at African proverbs that talk about it's better to go in a group and not be caught in the bush by yourself.
And look, there are a series of photos on his Twitter feed. Patrolman, y'all should be pulling it up. He has a photo of Congressman Steve Scalise, Republican Majority Leader, Louisiana. He goes, boom. That's all it says. He was a walk and talk with Congressman Troy Carter. He also then you have this here. Fox New Orleans posted a photo. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, a North Louisiana native, met with Curtis 50 Cent Jackson in D.C. and thanked him for investing in Shreveport and the community. 50 Cent's G-Unit Studios opened in Shreveport earlier this year. And again, here's the whole deal. 50 Cent may not care about all the other issues that are happening in Louisiana. That's fine. Okay, I totally understand Rebecca's point. I'm gonna be just still very clear on this, Robert, and that is, I just simply think that if you are articulating the need for expanded opportunities for African Americans in this space, and you're talking about wealth creation, I believe the power move is for a 50 Cent to issue a call and Uncle Nearest and other individuals, large or small, and say, hey, we gonna move collectively. We're gonna move as a group. We're gonna do what Dr. King said on April 3rd, 1968 at Mason Temple in Memphis, Tennessee, in that mountaintop speech, when he said that Black people individually are poor, yet collectively represent one of the largest economies in the world. He said we have to move as a collective to get things done. And that's what I certainly hope he does. And again, when the show's over, I'm going to text him this very thing. And I'm going to text it to Ben Crump. Because to me, that's how you actually show your power when you come back to Capitol Hill with 50, 75, 100, 200 African Americans who have liquor brands and say, we're standing as one. That, to me, is how you exercise your power, Robert.
Look, I'm going to defend 50 a little bit here because we can't expect 50 Cent to be Harry Belafonte all of a sudden. Look, he's somebody who made a career making songs about degrading Black women, about shooting Black men, selling drugs. But hold on.
Robert, hold up, Robert, remember, here's my whole deal. He came to Capitol Hill to advocate for expanding opportunities for African Americans in the business. What I'm saying is it can't just be about your lawsuit. It has to be about all of y'all trying to figure out what y'all are seeing here. That's one of the features on an iPhone when you say certain things and you move your hands. But also that's them also saying Roland is lighting that ass up. See, so again, the thing we gotta understand here: if you as an individual are advocating for African American expanded opportunities, all I'm saying is bring some other folks with you. That's just
Roland, the African American he's advocating for is Curtis Jackson, not the rest of y'all. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. But look, that's the point that I'm trying to make. Let's stop pretending 50 Cent is Harry Belafonte here. He has an entire drug dealer multiverse on television right now with spin-off shows all about Black folks selling drugs to other Black folks and killing other Black folks. He spent 20 years making music about Black folks doing drugs, defaming and abusing women, and killing other Black folks. You think he's at Capitol Hill all of a sudden to be the Rosa Parks of liquor? No, he wants the exclusive license to keep Black folks drunk. And so this idea that suddenly he's going to be moving in this new direction, and look, Malcolm X talked about this 60 years ago, that we're the only community that looks to horn players, that looks to dancers, that look to ball players in order to be the leadership of our community. He has every right as a businessman to go up there and try to get new contracts, but he's barking up the wrong tree. If he thinks that Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise give a damn about opportunities for Black folks or give a damn about doing anything for diversity, equity, inclusion, run the entire campaign about not giving opportunities to Black folks. So meet with them all you feel like. But in reality, it ain't going to happen. That's not who he is, and we got to stop expecting people to suddenly change their stripes to become Mahatma Gandhi overnight. He's going to continue his business of making money off of the destruction of Black communities, and I don't think that's going to change all of a sudden with one visit to Capitol Hill.
Again, and where I stand is very clear. If you are going to say, I am here to fight to expand opportunities for African Americans, okay, I'm saying bring them with you. That's the whole point. And so because I believe in too many spaces that there are too many of us who are selfish. There's certain phrases, for and no more. Whereas I'm the only one in. Anytime I hear a Black corporate executive say it's lonely at the top, I'm like, no, I blame you because you were supposed to bring some folk with you. And that's your damn fault. So all I'm saying is, and trust me, 50 gonna get a text, and Ben Crump is gonna get a text, and I'm gonna recommend, if that's what you're serious about, call the meeting. Call the meeting of other African Americans in the business and say, the next time we're going to take the trip together, and now all of a sudden 50, 100, 200 descend upon Capitol Hill. Let me quickly go to a break. We'll be right back. I talked to Isaac Hayes about this new documentary out by two black tech founders. But also, wait till I show y'all this video out of Wisconsin where a racist white man literally physically moves a black superintendent off the graduation stage because he didn't want him shaking his daughter's hand. Talk about shameful. Watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
On A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie. Being of service to others is one of the greatest callings in life. But being there for someone else in their time of crisis is a whole new level, and you have to bring courage, commitment, and strength. On our next show, we meet two real-life angels who were thrust in the midst of caregiving and without warning.
And he was looking strange and couldn't cut his meat. And it was very odd. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he says, I think I've had a stroke. And so, of course, it scared me. And we literally got in the car and he walked into the hospital on a Thursday. And by Saturday of that same week, he lost all control of his left side.
The blessings, the challenges, and the way they maintain their balance, all next on A Balanced Life on Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, you're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Now streaming on the Black Star Network.
It was my junior year at Georgetown, and Spike calls me and he says, Malcolm, what are you doing next year? So, graduating, you know. He said, take a year off, work on Malcolm X. I said, okay.
But first of all, for the folks who don't know, Spike is
my cousin. Spike is my cousin.
Just for the person watching, like, how the hell is Spike just gonna tell you that it's true? It's true.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Hey, folks, there's a new documentary out on HBO Max about MoviePass. It is a tech company that was founded by two African Americans. It talks about how the company imploded and those two brothers were removed from the company. Isaac Hayes III is the founder of Fanbase, joins us in This Week with Tech Talk. Isaac, I saw your video you posted about MoviePass, and I remember when they launched. I remember when people were talking about it. Then I remember when people, they were like, what the hell, how they gonna make money? It was all this sort of stuff. And then it lays, you just talk about how the documentary is just fascinating because it lays out how they then got removed from the company they founded.
This movie Crash, I think you should definitely take a look at it as a black business owner. It was kind of like a very sad kind of corporate takeover of MoviePass, which was founded by Stacy Spikes and Hamet Watt in 2011. They built MoviePass all the way up to about 20,000 subscribers. And they got a guy named Chris Kelly, who was the original general counsel for Facebook, to come in and invest in the company. And so when Chris Kelly joined the board, it was those two gentlemen and Chris Kelly on the board. And so what wound up happening is that MoviePass needed a little bit more capital, and they thought they should bring in a white CEO to actually run the company to try to scale the company. In comes Mitch Lowe, who was the former CEO of Redbox. And so they reconstituted the board to include the two black founders, Mitch Lowe, and then Chris Kelly wound up having 2 board seats. So now, with Chris Kelly's 2 board seats and Mitch Lowe's 1 board seat, they wound up removing both gentlemen from the board and eventually firing both of them from the company, and then tanking the entire company within 1 year, spending $150 million and crashing the company.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So explain to people, and you talked about it beforehand, the pitfalls when you're a founder and you go out and you raise money and you don't fully understand why you got to hold on to as much power as possible. Because in this case, you can get run out your own company.
Yeah, I mean, well, boards are very important. Boards are really basically the boss of the CEO. They're the people that are in charge and kind of guide the company and make and kind of keep the CEO accountable to the company. And so typically a lot of black founders wind themselves getting voted out of their own companies by these board takeovers by other people that are coming on the board. When it comes to the company that I built with Fanbase, I don't have a board. That's because I raised independent capital. I haven't gone to VCs. So you got to be careful when you're raising capital, especially from venture capital, because they do want things like board seats. And what happens is VCs will often look at your company as something to flip. So you might have $1 billion idea, and all they might want to do is give 4 times the return on the investment that they made. So they give you $1 million and they get $4 million. They'll be ready to sell your company way before you can take it to something to be a unicorn. So you got to be careful in the way that you constitute and construct your board. And MoviePass really bothered me because once Stacy and Hamet were gone, you have Mitch Lowe and Ted Farnsworth, who eventually wind up putting in a bunch of capital, and both of the guys are about to go on trial for securities fraud with the SEC, but they put founder and CEO of MoviePass. They totally whitewashed these 2 black guys out of the company. If you watch the documentary, there is a happy ending to the documentary. I won't give it away, but that part really bothered me, that these 2 guys built a company from the ground up from 2011 all the way to 2017, 18, and these guys come in and crash the company and take it over.
Absolutely crazy. Questions from our panel. Rebecca, you first.
Hey, Isaac, it's Rebecca. It's good to see you again tonight. So for would-be founders, especially in more of the tech space, what are like the top 3 things that black founders should do to protect their company?
I think initially you should create multiple classes of stock, right? I think you should create 2 classes of stock, common stock and voting stock. And then I think as founders, you should try your best to maintain control of all the voting stock. So that way it gives yourself power, right? You want to try to put as much equity as you can yourself in your company so that it limits the amount of equity that people can take, which is ownership and power. And especially dealing with venture capital, it's tricky. So that's why, secondly, I think I recommend people trying equity crowdfunding, like what we've done with Fanbase, as an alternative way to raise capital. Because even with you see what's going on with Fearless Fund and the fact that they lost their appeal in the 11th Circuit Court, it's just like we have to find ways to bypass these racist practices, right? And then I think, thirdly, you just have to be mindful of sometimes, especially as a black founder, there might be an air of racism that might want to prevent you from scaling your company to being somebody that is a Zuckerberg or is a Evan Spiegel or Jack Dorsey or somebody that builds a monster platform. So you really got to keep your head on the swivel about who's really, has your best interest in mind when you're constituting and constructing your company.
Scott?
Yeah, having advised a lot of entrepreneurs and folks who have startups, whether it's in the IT space or otherwise, one of the things I would supplement your advice and counsel is that getting good counsel, getting a good accountant, getting a good kind of corporate strategist is really, really important. Money's tight and maybe you can't afford it, but you can't afford not to have it, because the way the company was set up, at least me extrapolating from your your remarks and kind of, I looked this up before. You know, there was a lot of money that was burned through, but the way these stocks were set up and the agreements with these folks that didn't look like them, it was teed up for them to be moved out of the company. And it happens in real estate. It happens in startups all the time. The founders had to know that they, in exchange for the money, they were subjecting themselves to some risk that they could be moved out of the company through these board seats. You agree or disagree with that?
No, that's true. I think Stacey and Hamet, you know, trusted. You know, they were too trusting, and thinking.
No, yeah, you can't trust nobody.
Yeah,
you can't trust nobody. Who you trust?
They were a little too trusting in that situation. And the way that I constructed fan base, honestly, I built it. I knew that but I remember this. Remember, Steve Jobs got voted out of Apple, like, you know,
exactly,
at a company. So you always want to try to protect yourself as the founder as best you can. And so that's why those two classes of stock, I think, are extremely important in the way that you construct your company. But yeah, you got to keep your head on a swivel and be careful who you trust.
And you can't give up majority ownership of your stock or even put it at risk in exchange for that money piece. You cannot do that, because this is exactly what will happen by being too trusting, but also if you give up or put at risk your majority ownership. It's your idea, it's your passion, you're the entrepreneur. And, you know, there's a saying with entrepreneurs, you know, you go as long as you can until you can't manage how you've grown this thing, right? Then you got to either sell or you got to get out of it, if you will, up to your management experience. And so often entrepreneurs don't, one, realize that, but two, you should never give up or put at risk your majority stock interest, because it's your idea, it's your baby.
100%.
Robert?
You know, given the way that MoviePass ended and kind of the collapse of the company, is there ever something to be said for taking the money early, avoiding some of the risks down the line, and being able to cash out and simply invest that into another venture, particularly given when now you have people who are associated with the new company facing federal charges, et cetera?
Well, the irony in that is that Stacey and Hamet actually had equity in the company. And this is something that also happened, is that company kind of merged up under a publicly traded company and got acquired. So they were on the stock market. So the equity that both gentlemen had, the equity that Stacey had was worth about $80 million. But within that 1 year, there was a restriction that they couldn't sell their stock for 365 days, and that it went from $80 million down to pennies within 365 days. These guys spent $150 million. You know, Mitch Lowe and Ted Farnsworth, they burnt all the money, you know, gallivanting around Coachella, spending money to hosting events, hanging out with celebrities and partying, and they crashed the company within a year. So imagine having something worth $80 million that's worth pennies in less than a year, and you have no control over that. So yeah, that's something that was extremely terrible.
Oh, man. So, folks, be sure if you go to HBO Max, you can check the documentary out. Isaac, give us an update on the raise for fan base.
Hey, fan base. Listen, we are raising right now on startengine.com/fanbase. Everybody that hears my voice, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest. We're almost at about $1.3 million. I'm raising $17 million. The minimum to invest is $399. You get 60 shares of fan base stock at $665 a share. And I think what's important about this, again, is these companies are changing. You see that Instagram is even trying out like unskippable ads, right? That you can't even scroll past the ads on the platform anymore. It's a lot of little things that are starting to happen with these companies. And so I think, again, the opportunity for users to have equity in social media, that is why I built Fanbase. So we're almost at about 700,000 users. We're on iOS and Android. We previously raised $10 million. So this isn't a far stretch for us to go ahead and raise to 17. And you have ownership, equity. We talk about equity so many times in a startup. And you can rise and grow with the growth of the company. So if you want to invest, go to startengine.com/fanbase. It's on my shirt. Make sure that you go check it out and have some equity. And I say this before, 28,500 people investing $600 is $17 million, and we can close our round. If you know some people, forward the link to them, tell your friends, invest for your grandkids, your kids, your friends, and let's all go together, because this is the opportunity to own part of a tech startup, a social media tech startup. that is rivaling these other platforms that are actually copying what we do. So I'm really excited about this. And I want as many of us who look like us on the cap table as possible. So go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. The minimum to invest is $399. I'll keep you posted, Roland, every time I come back on the show. But check out MoviePass. And as a founder, be careful who you let in the hen house.
Absolutely. All right, Isaac, was really appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, I saw this video on social media, and I had to go ahead and show you this. So there was a graduation in Wisconsin. And as this young woman is about to cross the stage, her racist dad literally storms the stage and physically removes the black superintendent from the stage. Watch this.
Elise Kathleen Eddy. Oh. Excuse me. Where's Brendan? Where's Brendan? Where's Brendan?
Get away from me, bro.
No.
Hey, no. Hey, you need to get. Hey. You gotta go. I'll get off. Right now. I don't care. Get off the stage right now.
That way, Michael. No. Where's Brendan? Who's dad? Elise?
That black superintendent is Baraboo, Wisconsin Superintendent Rainey Briggs. Again, he was on stage, including with school board president Kevin Vodak and principal Steve Consondine. The man only confronted Superintendent Briggs. This is not the first incident at this particular school. In 2018, a photo circulated of students at Baraboo High School giving a Nazi salute in a class photo. That right there is absolutely outrageous, Scott.
Yeah, Roland, I often say, having grown up in Joliet, Illinois, these pockets of communities all around us just aren't Washington, D.C., New York, L.A., Chicago. I mean, they it's like they're time warped and don't know history, don't know the 1965 Voting Rights Act, Housing Act, and the amount of racism, manifest verbalizing of the N-word is just unbelievable in some of these local communities. And I remember growing up in Joliet, Illinois, and I was in high school from 76 to 80, and my parents were civil rights activists. I was at a Catholic school, and I'm going to tell you, the N-word was not a big deal. I got called the N-word almost every week and stuff, and went through either fighting or joking or getting suspended or yelling names back just to defend myself. And I wasn't alone. And Joliet, Illinois, and New Lenox, Illinois weren't alone in those communities where it's like in time warp almost, notwithstanding the media. And so we just got to fight it. I guess my question to you, Roland, is, have you read what happened to the superintendent? Because the video doesn't show him coming back on stage. Was there an altercation behind stage? Because there was a disruption, and did the graduation continue?
Superintendent came back on stage. Graduation did continue, and I believe that father got arrested.
Yeah, absolutely. But these local communities, Roland, now you got a black superintendent handing out diplomas, and crazy white folks rearing their ugly head because he didn't want that black man touching his white daughter, who is responsible for her graduating, by the way. That's how idiotic it is. So, this is unbelievable.
All right. Okay, Rebecca.
Well, here's an added wrinkle to that story. As I saw in the town of Baraboo, the school board president is now, they're trying to recall the school board president. And the reason why, they're saying he's mismanaging money. And one of the examples of him mismanaging money is the superintendent's pay. So just to run that back, there are families and parents in the town of Baraboo who's upset with how much the superintendent is making. And I guarantee you, up in Baraboo, it ain't like he's making $1 million a year, but they don't want that black man making whatever he's making. Now, that black man is from an hour away in Madison. Maybe he and his family need to leave Baraboo and go back down to Madison.
Robert?
If you're a black man and find yourself in Baraboo, Wisconsin, you've probably already made a mistake. I'm just gonna put that out there, but you know, I've noticed throughout my life and throughout generations, people usually create the thing that they hate the most. And his poor daughter is gonna go off to college now, and when she shows up at Thanksgiving with Jaquan or Jamal or something like that, and he has to look at that brand new baby that she's bringing forward, he's gonna realize that bringing that girl up in a family of hatred, teaching her to hate those people, he's now created exactly the thing that he sought to destroy. So congratulations to his daughter and his future son-in-law, Jaquan.
And he's going to be a big black man, too. She's going to bring home a big black man. Tall, big, muscular, football player. Killing
it. With that black man.
Are y'all done? Are y'all done?
Yeah, we done. Go on, man. I got to go, man. I got a hard stop at 8. I love you guys, but I got to go, man. I gotta
first of all, well, okay. If you got to go, shut up and stop talking then.
Well, I know, but the show's going to miss an element that you're not going to have when I go. It'll never be the same without me. So just cover for me, okay?
Nah, we'll be greatly improved. All right, y'all. That is it. Let me thank Robert. Let me thank Rebecca, and I'll talk to Scott. I will, folks, tomorrow I'm back in studio, and I'll have some great video from the Steve Harvey Golf Tournament here in Atlanta for you on tomorrow's show. That's it. Don't forget, support us in what we do. Join the Bring the Funk fan club. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 a year, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Send your check and money over to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear, The Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. There'll be an audio version on Audible. And don't forget, I have less than 200 copies. We probably have less than 100 now of my book, The First. President Barack Obama's Road to the White House was originally reported by Roland Martin. I am personally autographing all copies. I have cut the price to $10. That's it. Once these books are gone, that's it. I have looked at my house in Dallas, my brother's house, my sister's house, my house in the DMV. These are the only copies left, and once I get rid of them, they are gone. I'm not reprinting this book again. So if you want your personally autographed copy, go to RolandSMartin.com/the first, RolandSMartin.com/the first, and you can get that particular book. Folks, that's it. I'll see you tomorrow right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?